need the hood off?
Yeah, let's pop the hood.
Alright, so this guy. He says this thing goes to the left, goes to the right, around the 300-foot mark. You can never finish the race under power. It is a short wheelbase car, so it's going to be harder to make things work right. And these Monzas don't exactly have the best front suspension system to work with, but we'll do what we can. Got some ball joints, maybe? Well, this thing does need some new ball joints, which is probably going to be a chronic problem with this car because they're really small. I might even go so far as to resize the upper ball joint to accept an S10 style joint, and then you could do a 1 inch longer upper ball joint, which would give you some more travel, which would be beneficial. Bushings look like they've been done at some point. This is a full cage car with front supports down the rails. There's not really any structural support across on the bottom except for this bar here and this bar here, which are bolt in, but that's not a big deal. I'm wondering if this part of the K-member is flexing as he's under power, because there's nothing really holding it together other than this rack support. But we'll figure that out. I'm going to put the heads on this and check it to see what the toe's doing on lift. I think that's going to be the biggest thing we're going to overcome today, because that does not look correct. That looks like it's probably making toe in on lift worse. Let's see what it looks like. Well, let's see what it does on lift. That's a little sloppy. Looks like we can square the back end up too. So I'm going to try and get as much caster as I can first, and then we'll see where the camber ends up. And my initial reading up front is it's towed out. It tows out more on lift and then comes back, so I'm probably going to need to change the height on the bump steer. I'm going to say we need to go shorter with it. It's close, but I don't like it towing out because it's going to make it want to do weird things. Let's see if we can overcome that. Start with our caster, which is negative on this car because it was running bias ply tires. And it was probably a manual steering car. This would have been the Chevrolet counterpart to the AMC, AMC Spirit vehicles. Now, I don't know if this has ever been aligned before, but I'm going to guess that if it has been aligned anytime recently, that they have done nothing with the control arm adjustments. Which on these cars, there's eccentrics here. That one's all the way in, which is the way you want it for... Actually, no, all the way out is going to give us more caster. So we're going to be able to take that 180 degrees for more caster, and we're going to take that one 180 degrees for more caster. And then this one, which also hasn't been touched in a really long time. That one's hidden up in there. They hide them sometimes. So yeah. And we can go farther negative with camber, which we don't really want to do. But let's get some caster into this thing and see where it ends up. This is probably the first time this car has gotten an alignment since it was built. Think of all the weight we're saving. Grab chrome. That is all the caster. That's quite a ways, actually. You can actually see the witness marks that I actually did an alignment on this car. Like I said, I don't think this car's ever been aligned since it was brand new. It's amazing. So we got all our caster over here. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to rotate that 180 degrees to give us all the caster we can get, which is going to give them some stability. It'll be a little harder to steer, but it's going to drive a lot better. That was a massive change. I think I'm going to recomp, start over. a little bit longer over here. Alright, now my tie rod ends are the exact same length, which will help with my cycling. Which means the steering wheel is going to be off about probably 30 degrees. But he said he would take care of that on the spline when he takes it home. Let's see if that changes our cycle. Still going negative a half degree, negative 0.7. And then at full lift we are at negative 0.2, 0.3. So it's coming back positive. And we're at full extension and off the ground. We towed out even more. So do I want to go taller more? I think I do. Because I'm going negative less than I was before. I'm going to have to make some shims because I don't have any more 9/16 shims. But we're making progress. I'm going to recomp and begin again. So give me a second to redo this. Well, that's an improvement. We actually have some caster now. I'm going to try and take some of this camber out. Although, what's it do on lift? What's the camber do on lift? So it goes positive. That side's cambered all the way in, so we're going to match this side to that side. Come to think of it, those lower control arm bushings have never been changed. So we may want to do bushings in this car just to make sure that we're holding our alignment as it goes through its cycles. Just turn that around. like that. Now we're towing in on lift. Less than a degree. I'll take it. That's going to handle completely good. If we modify that knuckle to take a tall S10 ball joint, I think we'd get some added benefit from droop. We'd have to clearance where the knuckle on lift as well, but it's possibly something that will happen. Let's take a final caster reading. Within a tenth of caster, within 2/10 camber, I'll take it. So on the back side, all these jam nuts are loose, and that ultimately will strip the threads out. That one's tight. That one's loose. That one's tight. That one's loose. I'm gonna lock all those down, then I'm gonna square up the rear end for my thrust alignment. Let's get that done real quick. Alright, I think I found our major issue. This guy was definitely loose, but these guys, when they're loose like that, it can you're getting all of your load on this is pulling these threads, and the jam nut's what makes this joint strong. So it's pretty possible, because I couldn't move that by hand, but it took me over a full turn to get it to tighten up. I wonder if I can put leverage on it. Well, I tried prying on it and I didn't feel any looseness, so I'm going to try and tighten it down. All the rest of them tightened up nicely. I must have just been overcritical about it. I think it'll be okay. Pretty sure that's going to do some weird stuff right there. Those need to be at a 90 degree to really function correctly. I'm not sure what it's going to do being at a 45 like that. It might do some weird things. But I've never seen them set up like that. There's no reason you can't run them vertical. Although you do have some fuel in the way there. Ooh, you got this thing loaded on this side. Let's make that neutral. With as bad as the front end was in this thing, yeah, let's take that pressure out of here. So the thrust angle's off. I'm going to square those up a little bit. -4, -9, 0.02 on our thrust. That's pretty good. I'm happy with that. It's looking pretty good.
Man, this rear end barely fits on your rack. Like,
Yeah, it's about as close as it gets. The Chevette was overhanging. It had a bunch of toe, and when it on lift, it would toe out. So that was going to make it even more loose on the when you're running with the nose elevated. That's the nice thing about my hunter rack. I've learned how to really utilize the sensors and the lifts so that I can cycle the car through different ranges. I ended up adding like 5 washers to the bump steer to get it dialed in. So now on lift, it tows in less than a degree, and it's static at like 1/10 towed in. So as soon as you leave the line, it's going to tow in a little bit instead of towing out. Which is why every time you come down, it wants to go one way or the other way, because it's got a one wheel pointing at a wall and it wants to chase it. So we made a lot of improvements. I think you're going to notice a huge difference in how it rides. I've had several guys leave here and go make runs, and they're like, "I just ran my personal best right after leaving your shop." I'm like, "Well, good. That's what we want to hear."
I can't put any power into it.
Well, I think that might change today. When we get it stripped down, we'll get you on the road to your next destination.
So am I going to make YouTube?
Yeah, we are doing a video on it.
I am.
Pac-Man go out and maybe he can eat some ghosts now.
Oh boy. There's a few of me wants to. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, man.
I was to the point I don't want to drive the car anymore. This is the first time I found a trailer all year.
Well, and that's like, people are like, why? You know, I've had it aligned. I'm like, well, I'm not aligning it. I'm doing a lot more than just an alignment.
Right.
Like, this is making a bunch of different parts work together. And you know, I've been aligning cars since '92. So I've done it a minute. I've done all genre.